I think my parents forgot to tell me that, hey, you need permission. Hey, now I woke up too late when I was in this world where then men look at me and say, what is wrong with this woman?
You raised 2 billion and felt small.
Steven Schwarzman raised, he targeted $1 billion in 1987. He reached $750 million for his first fund. This is how many years later. So I'm an underachiever from that perspective.
Let me start the question afresh. I want to hear your answer to how was your day?
Oh gosh, today was probably the most emotionally demanding day that I've had in a very long time, and all related to work.
And at the end of the day, Ntando calls you, it's time for a podcast.
Exactly, and I have to show up. This is. You start your day off, on a particular trajectory, on a particular pace, and then things happen, and then you have to either up your pace or slow down your pace. And I've been driven by adrenaline the whole day because I've just been putting out fires, and now I have to smile with you.
You're doing a great job so far. But do you get a lot of days like that? Because we see you on TV, Dragon Stand, we know I got it together. You never have a bad day. You never have a long day.
Oh my goodness.
There's us entrepreneurs, and then there's you.
No. Any entrepreneur worth their salt generally has long days, generally has a lot of problems to solve on the day, and they are different problems, and a lot of the time you cannot foretell when you get into the office that today these are the problems I'm going to be dealing with. I'm a very structured worker, so I've got a things to do list, and I can tell you today that I have not ticked off a single one of them.
On your to-do list? Now I'm feeling good about myself.
So
I was judging myself with this to-do list business.
So it means tonight I have to get onto, the bandwagon and work. Because if it didn't happen it has to happen at some point.
Also, if you don't finish your to-do list during the day, you take it at home and you try and crush part of it. You
either do that or you wake up very early in the morning and you attend to it. Otherwise, you just never... You're never going to achieve what you need to achieve if your things to do list just never gets ticked off. Then what's the point?
Yeah, because I've seen many people who have to-do lists. They don't achieve them in one day, carry them over to the next, don't achieve them, and then they think, what's the point of the exercise itself?
Oh, no. It's very, for me, it tells me how much trouble I'm in. And therefore the urgency with which I need to attend to closing the gaps. No, I'm a sucker for things to do list. That's how you track your progress. How else do you know whether you're progressing if you're not taking things off?
What if it's depressing me, Mopala? Because I never finish it.
Then maybe it's
or maybe
not
I'm
important.
setting it wrong.
Or maybe it's not important. Sometimes it's the how. Sometimes it's not the what.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the how. And sometimes what discourages us is perhaps the how that we've chosen to do it is probably not the best way of doing it, and therefore it either takes you too long or it's just unnecessarily complicated. So sometimes it's okay to shift things around, but not into perpetuity. At some point, you also need to make a call to say, okay, you know what? Actually, I'm taking this thing off my things to do list because actually, if I've managed to get away without doing it for a month, it's probably not important.
Oh yeah, that's another way to look at it. That's right? A cool one. I want to hear more from the last time we spoke. I want to hear more success stories as an IDF. That should be an easy place to start.
Oh my goodness, success
that
stories.
Should be easy. I want to hear about the impact that the organization is having, because we get to talk to the CEO.
It's a very similar impact story. I mean, we've continued to deploy capital across South Africa in the main, and we did a follow-on investment in Zambia literally last week, which was quite exciting. It's one of our fastest growing portfolio companies. So when you do a follow-on investment as an investor, it just shows you how much confidence you have in the underlying business.
Also, the first investment worked. They
worked
grew.
Very
they
well.
are paying back nicely.
And now we're like, we want to see more of this growth, but we also want to see more of the impact, because that particular business is about financial inclusion, and inclusion is a very big part from an ESG perspective. So for us, it was really good that we could back them to improve financial inclusion for a lot of Africans who remain on the periphery of our economy.
Do they work just in Zambia, or their reach is?
So when we first invested, they were actually only in Zambia, and then last year we helped them to expand into Tanzania, and then we're now working on expanding into Malawi. So I love that story. For me, it's like, we're making Africans making Africa work for them in solving African problems through African solutions. So it's very exciting.
You don't mind naming them if people want to go?
Yeah, but Lupia. Everybody knows Lupia. Lupia is actually a local language in Zambia, which actually means money. So Lupia means money.
All right. What about local in South Africa?
We've also just done a very nice transaction in the telecommunications industry, where we are rolling out telecommunications infrastructure in rural areas. And
you say that with such a bright smile.
Absolutely, because digital inclusion opens up so many doors for so many things, whether it's education, whether it's health, whether it's financial. And we're doing this primarily in the Limpopo and Mpumalanga areas, which tend to be underserved by most people. And the intention is that once we've sort of captured that whole market, then we're going to spread out throughout the whole of South Africa and ultimately SADC. So that excites me. The name of that company, the name of that company is called Dido Mazuo. I'm very excited about that. And there's a new transaction where we've just received approval for, so I can't mention their name until we sign on the dotted line. It's also around digital inclusion as well.
Okay.
Because I think people don't appreciate just how having access to digital technology opens up so many doors that people just cannot access because they are too far off, and it's therefore too costly. You have to get onto a taxi, go to town, you spend money and stuff like that. Whereas if you've got access to the internet at home at a cost-effective rate, all of a sudden you can do banking without leaving your house. All of a sudden you can access so many other facilities, whether it's home affairs even, without leaving your home. So
and marketing for businesses. Exactly.
So digital technology is actually not a nice to have. It's almost like a basic need like water, like air. So we're doing things like that. And of course, I think a very significant and exciting thing for us is, and we will be announcing this formally at our upcoming
event.
Entrepreneurship. We call it a Festival of Entrepreneurship. That also excites me. We've just raised funding to launch a fund for funding businesses in the townships and in rural and peri-urban areas. So we've sort of been doing that, but at not at scale. So
well, this time you will be offering
we will be able
this
to do it
at scale,
and we will be addressing the needs of a lot of small Black entrepreneurs. Actually, are short-term funding. And they want quick turnarounds. They don't have collateral most of the time, so uncollateralized debt that is quick, that is affordable. It unlocks so much opportunity for them, opportunity for growth. And we've seen, we've doing this at a low scale, just testing it out for a few months, for just over 18 months. And if I can tell you the growth in the revenues of those companies that we have done this with, it has grown significantly. And we're doing it at low scale. So now this fund helps us to scale it. So I'm really excited.
Aren't you scared of the flurry of applications that will come?
Well, that's why we're not going to publicize it too much. We actually already have. I was looking at the pipeline this morning. You see, I woke up and I looked at the pipeline and then I moved into a board meeting and I was fighting. And I was looking at the pipeline and it's so much pipeline and we've not gone out to anybody in the market to say this is what we're doing.
People have discovered it.
Exactly. So imagine when we launch it, what kind of feedback and response we're going to get. But it's a good problem to have because, the more pipeline you have, the better quality you can select. So one shouldn't complain about it. For me, I think that's probably a very significant thing that has happened. Another significant thing, I think before I spoke to you last year, I was telling you about the new innovation fund that we were raising. We reached our first close in September of last year because I spoke to you around July, right? Yeah, so that was before we reached our first close, and this new transaction that I was saying that we've just gotten approval. We're just waiting to sign to cross the T's and dot the I's.
So at the festival, you're going to launch the innovation fund as well.
Well, we don't really need to launch it, but yeah.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about it. And it's really about finding innovative solutions to our unique problems through entrepreneurship. So really, very excited about that, actually. And then
is it going to be aligned with social entrepreneurship, or just you don't have to be a social entrepreneur?
No, it doesn't have to be social entrepreneurship. But look, at the end of the day, we're managing investors' money. We're competing for capital with people who promise them to give them 2 times or 3 times money they are back. So impact is important for us. We don't think that impact necessarily means that you forgo commercial return. In fact, our philosophy is that social impact actually enhances your return prospects from a commercial perspective. So we don't see impact as necessarily discounting a commercial return. We actually think impact escalates the potential for good commercial returns.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a business before you say, we can invest in you?
It depends on... So we wear many different lenses, right? So it depends. If I'm doing a short-term funding thing, then, I'm looking for some track record. I'm looking for, some, your current customer who can vouch that you know what you're doing, you've delivered before, you deliver on quality, you're not a thief, and all those other things. I also look at how can I de-risk the risk of non-payment, because sometimes people get excited, they get a tender or a contract, I give you money to service it, and then when you're supposed to pay me, you forget that I exist and you start dodging. so I look at what are the ways that I can mitigate you behaving in that way.
Yeah.
When I look at long-term investment, equity investment in particular, I look at, because equity investment is higher risk, because I give you money today and I pray for the next 5 years that I get it back, right?
That's the patient capital.
That's the patient capital. So prayer is a very big part of it. But I look...
So you have had businesses that you fund and you have to wait a couple of years before you start seeing a return?
Yes, in most of our equity investments, that's precisely the hat that you have to wear. And that's why we sit on the board. So we sit on the board, we help with business development, we help with business strategy, we help with building teams, because we want winning teams. Because if I'm going to take that kind of risk, I need to have some comfort that the people that I'm taking this risk with have got an idea of what they're doing. Sometimes we even have rights over the bank accounts, because people get excited when money hits the bank. They think it's theirs, forgetting it belongs to the money, to the business. So we look at entrepreneur character. It's a very big assessment for us. And we don't always get it right. People change personality and character. When somebody's looking for money, they're the nicest, most honest and transparent people. The minute you give them money, they start becoming tsotzis, they start having stories, they are no longer as available as they used to be. So it's also a gamble in a way. So you try and see, those kinds of things to see whether you can pick up whether there are any such tendencies. We look at traction. So, what have you actually achieved? Are we talking about you coming to me with an idea just because you woke up in the morning and came up with a nice idea?
And it felt good when I was in the
It
shower.
felt good. At 9 o'clock this morning, it felt like such a great idea, No, it's about what have you done to execute on that idea? What have you lost? What sweat equity have you put in? How much research have you done? What have you sold? And what does it say to you? Does it say that people really like this and they want it at scale, or it's just 5 people who happen to be your friends and they're trying to be nice to you? So attraction is very important, but we also look, we are gender lens investors. We have pioneered genderless investing on this continent.
Yeah.
So for us, gender diversity is very important because women make up more than half of the population. If you don't see the impact across gender, I will use gender deliberately because now we've got men, women, and people who identify as other things. But we have to be realistic to, we live in a diverse society, and therefore your customer base is diverse. Your problems are diverse. So if in your organization there's no diversity, then it means that there's a part of the population and potentially part of the market that we are missing out on because we don't understand them, we don't speak the same language, or we don't understand things the way that they do.
Okay.
So diversity is very important for us. And sometimes you do find that you look at a business opportunity, it looks great, but they don't yet have that diversity that you want. But if you are willing to walk the journey with us for us to help you, think very carefully about how you diversify your business, how you diversify your customer base, then we can enter into that relationship with you where we are saying, well, maybe from a diversity you score very low today, but here's a pathway towards improving that, and you buy into it, then we'll walk the journey with you.
I was going to ask about that. What if I'm not ready in terms of the diversity score?
Yes.
Are you going to help me and still fund me?
Yes, actually. In fact, one of the things that we do when we do funding requirements, like how we're going to allocate the funding. If, for instance, we wanted to have an ESG framework and you don't have it, it might mean that we have to either budget in our funding an allocation for us to hire an ESG specialist to come and work for you, or bring them in as a consultant to help you build the framework out, train your team, and then go. So we would also look at things like that. So we're very pragmatic because our wish is to help people succeed. We cannot guarantee success, but we can help you to succeed. So we try to be as pragmatic as possible, but we also respect that we are backing people who know what they are doing, hopefully. So we don't go into your business assuming that we know everything, step aside and we'll do everything. We also look at, can I go to bed at night knowing that I've given Tando 5 million rand, and is he as worried about this 5 million rand as I am? In fact, he should be twice as worried about it as I am, right? Because he's the right jockey. He knows what he's doing. He's got the right experience, or he's surrounded himself with the right people and things like that.
I like that, because with your level of experience, for example, I imagine if you were to come to my business and start helping me run it, I'll end up being dependent on you, always being there.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's also the very real risk that I could run your business down because if you're running an engineering firm, I know debits and credits.
Yeah.
If you're running an accounting firm, there's a good chance that I might help you to succeed. But if you're running an engineering firm, the chances of me running that business into the ground are almost guaranteed. Exactly. So I can come in and help you think about strategy and think about how you go to market and all of those other things because I'm a businesswoman, right? But if you're now going to be sitting there and looking at an engineering solution, I'll probably say, it looks very nice and shiny. But I can't give you technical input about, maybe you should be using this technology as opposed to that. Or, as an engineer who's been around for 30 years, I've seen these solutions before, so there's nothing unique about it. You won't be able to have that kind of insight.
All right. So the passion topic for you, women inclusion, diversity, what would you define as the role of women? For women just listening, to understand what their role should be in this ecosystem of entrepreneurship?
Well, firstly, women should take their rightful place. We don't need permission for anyone to tell us what to do. When God made men and women, he didn't say one is better than the other. So I'm not sure whose permission we are waiting for to allow us to be who we are rightfully meant to be. Everybody has a purpose on earth. Nobody is a mistake. Everybody is here to fulfill a purpose. Figure out what your purpose is and work very hard towards achieving that purpose. And don't seek anybody's permission. We don't need permission. Yeah, we should just get on with it.
For you, I know I asked you last time, you were always like this, even in high school. You never waited for permission.
Well, yeah, I don't think I ever waited. I didn't at the time. I was.
Have
not,
you ever struggled with confidence?
I was not mature enough to know that I needed. No, but I think my parents forgot to tell me that, hey, you need permission. Hey, now I woke up too late when I was in this world where then men look at me and say, what is wrong with this woman? Everybody struggles with confidence. You can never be the same level of confident, like even on a given day. I woke up, I did my spiritual work, I prayed, whatever, and I was like, oh, I'm God's greatest child, or I'm God's favorite child.
Those powerful affirmations.
Then I got to the office, and then they're like, we don't know about that, because there are these problems you need to solve, which made me feel very insecure and lacked confidence and things like that. So I don't think anybody can be consistently confident. Whether it's on a given day or day to day. I think our levels of confidence are influenced by so many factors in our lives. But I think I've always been clear in my mind. Even when I have a low self-esteem day, I've never lacked clarity of what my purpose is. And even when it's not such a good day, I still find a way of waking up and still making it happen, regardless of how I'm feeling on that particular day.
There's pushing through when you're having a bad day or just a bad week in general. Pushing through and still
bad year. Can last a year.
Yeah, some people play hurt, play injured, and still get things done. But there are many people that struggle.
Yeah.
There are some that have a headache and don't even want to show up for work.
I think we should all find our pillars. So, and this is a fight I have with my daughter all the time. I always say to her, I'm not saying you should be Christian or anything like that, but you need to have something that you believe in. Because as a human being, at some point or the other, something is going to rattle you.
Yeah.
And you need to hold on to something, So I hold on to my spiritual beliefs. Whether it's logical or not, I don't care.
It's working.
Yeah, it works for me, right? That's where I draw my inspiration and my strength and my belief from. So I just think that it's important to have something that anchors you, something that is your pillar, whatever it is. I'm not going to prescribe what it should be. Mine is God. Other people believe in other things. As long as it's not harmful. For me, as long as you're not hurting anyone in the process, as long as it's positive and it builds you. But you have to have something that when the chips are down, that when I go into the space or I go and talk to such and such people or I do such and such an activity, other people draw strength from physical activity. Like I know I'm also a runner, right?
Yeah.
When I'm in my most stressed, I know that I cannot go to work without doing at least 5 kilometers of running, right?
Okay.
Because if I don't do that, then I'm carrying the baggage from yesterday, right?
Into the day.
So what am I going to... I'm going to be a wreck by the end of that day. And for me, running or walking clears the air. And I also do a lot of stretches as I do that. So I find that stretching, for instance, it loosens the muscles and things like that. So even if the problem has not gone away, but my attitude and even just my intellectual agility to deal with the problem is so much more enhanced because I took the time out, I did my run or I did my walk, and I also did my spiritual work. So the problem is still the same.
But you're different in approaching
Exactly. And I find that I have better solutions. But I also show up better at work because, it's very easy when you are upset to think that you can also go around showing up angry. Everybody's got the capacity to be angry. I've learned that.
Yeah.
So can you imagine if all of us allowed ourselves to show up in our anger every day? But there would be World War V now. You know what I mean? So we also need to be mindful that as you engage with the world, you need to be mindful how you show up.
Yeah.
Because it can make or break situations and people
Definitely.
along the way. Yeah.
I'm curious, Maple. In terms of you and your development, who has been a teacher, mentor to you? Principles that you've learned, because you are a mentor to us, so we love listening to you. But Who do you learn from?
It depends. I learned from a lot of people, even from younger people.
Yeah.
Right. And thank you, by the way. I'm quite encouraged by what you're saying, because some of the time I'm not sure what I'm coming or going. Like right now, for instance, I'm reading a book written by Steven Schwarzman, who founded Blackstone. And I've been reading it for the past week. And I was saying to my team, guys, do you know that we are actually running a spaza shop? They're like, what do you mean we're running a spaza shop? And I was telling them that Blackstone, the first fund that they raised in 1987, first time fund managers, they targeted raising $1 billion. First time. And I'm like, Tina, here when we raise R1 billion or two, we think we're, men about town or women about town. And this guy in 1987, his first fund. So for me, it's almost like it was a kick in the back that I needed, because I'm fundraising right now and I've got a certain target and I'm like, this target is too low.
You raised 2 billion and felt small.
Steven Schwarzman raised, he targeted $1 billion in 1987. He reached $750 million for his first fund. This is how many years later. So I'm an underachiever from that perspective. So I find different. So I'm a reader. And I'm very thankful to God that I've always loved reading. So I find a lot of insights from reading people, and I do read a lot of autobiographies, even political. So I look at how people have overcome adversity and what I can learn for myself, what I can bring into my own life. But I also, I think I mentioned Oprah Winfrey when we last spoke.
Yeah.
From a young kid, she was a big inspiration, only because she was a black woman who was rich, and we were not used to seeing black rich people. So, and at different points in time, you are inspired by different people. I'm a big lover of Winnie Madikizela Mandela. I know that different people have got different views, but for me, grace under pressure defines what Winnie Madikizela Mandela was. And the fact that she did not lose her mind in spite of,
through all of what she was going through,
takes mental fortitude that I don't even know which normal person has. I don't even know that I would have been able to withstand any of that, and I can never be her. But when you are faced with challenges and then you listen to these stories, you're like, people have survived worse. Maybe I'll survive this too. So I really take inspiration from a lot of people, even the young ones. I mean, now I'm learning. I'm learning how to communicate effectively to my 22-year-old. So what I've now learned is I talk at her, and I don't communicate with her. And it's because maybe that's how, I come from a particular generation. When an adult speaks,
you listen,
right? You listen and you do, right? But then this kind of, what does she call herself? A millennial? I don't even know.
The millennials, Gen Zs,
exactly.
And
I don't know which one she falls under. But then they need. So I can still say the same thing to her, but differently, and get different outcomes.
Yeah, this has been fun. We'll keep it short,
yeah,
because I know we can always come back for more
yes,
insights
absolutely.
later. I want to know what your vision is for the festival.
This Festival of Entrepreneurship, and I must credit Silebo Khomolefe for coming up with the name. Dr. Lives Good.
Oh, yeah.
I actually stole it from him many years ago. And then last year when I decided that I wanted to own it, I called him and I said, my brother, can I please take this name and run with it? And he said, my sister, it's my pleasure. You've got my blessings. So I must firstly thank him.
Nice.
I quite liked the idea of a festival of entrepreneurship. For me, a festival is about celebration, right? And I think I also spoke to you the last time that I'm a Pan-Africanist.
You are. You did say.
And we are now living in the era of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, where we are saying we want to integrate regionally our economies across the continent. And I read a lot, as I said, and I was reading about the African Development Bank's High 5 priorities, which are light up Africa, integrate Africa, feed Africa, improve the lives of Africa, and industrialize Africa, right?
Okay.
All themes which I believe have to be driven through entrepreneurship, which will then result in economic development of the continent and regional economic integration.
Okay.
So I thought, why not bring all these Africans together in one room and we just celebrate entrepreneurship along these themes, right?
Why were the themes important to you, though?
The themes were important because it's a clarion call to all of Africa to say, if we are serious about integrating the continent, we need to address the issues of access, right? Why do I have to, when I go to Morocco, why do I have to fly to France, then from France
then
go to
fly
Morocco,
back.
right? We need to be looking at road and rail and air infrastructure to enable easy access to different African countries. That's how you promote trade.
True.
Right?
True.
Why is it that we own 60% of the world's arable land, but we are still net importers of food? We produce the most amount of food, fruit. Most of it goes rotten because we don't have warehousing facilities, we don't have logistics infrastructure, we don't have processing capacity. I'm talking about us as a continent now.
Yeah.
So industrializing Africa means that we can keep what comes out of our earth, that is a God-given resource. We can process it, we can eat it, we can sell it to the world. Right? Integrate Africa, I think I've spoken about that, improve the lives of Africans, right? It talks to, and this is where the Lupia story comes in, so where now all of a sudden a gogo in some village who could not have access to banking services, all of a sudden has got access to banking services because technology is there. So okay, Lupia solves the access to capital bit, but Mazuo, for instance, resolves the digital technology access bit. Okay. And then you've got Alma Health, which is also an e-health. It's here in South Africa that focuses on using technology to provide primary healthcare services to underserved areas. That is improving the lived experiences of an African.
Africans, yeah.
A healthy African, an African that has got access to financial services, an African that has got access to information is a much more successful African than one who doesn't. So it's important for me. These themes are not just nice words that appear on some glossy papers. They have a very real lived meaning for me. But one of the things that we don't talk about enough as Africans is we are very creative.
Okay, what do you mean?
We are, when it comes to fashion, when it comes to music, when it comes to poetry, when it comes to art, we are gifted. Do we monetize that? So I've got another theme which is completely unrelated to the African Development Bank's themes, but has got everything to do with this festival side of things. I said that day we're going to be celebrating, it's going to be a festival, so there'll be art. We'll be showcasing art from young, unknown artists across the country, and hopefully we can get some from outside of South Africa. We'll be showcasing music locally as well as internationally. And when I say internationally, again, across the continent. We'll be having a fashion show. I mean, I'm very excited about the fashion show. I've already told someone.
Are you going to do all of this in 2 days?
In 1 day.
Oh, you already told someone?
Yes, that I'm going to wear 3 different outfits on the day. So I'll be part of the fashion show on the day. And we'll be bringing, serious people into the room. We're partnering with very serious partners. And I cannot tell you yet who some of our speakers are, but some of the most renowned
speakers in Africa
are going to be there. So it's really going to be festive. It's going to be fun. It's going to be informative. There's going to be a lot of networking, hopefully cutting of deals. For me, I'm not doing this for the sake of just having fun. I want people to cut deals. I want people to announce that, yes, I met Ntando today and
this is what we're working on.
That's why we're also having coaching sessions as well.
And master classes.
So it's quite
exciting.
It's very exciting. Yeah.
And I guess, are we talking about the price now, or it's free? And how many people are you looking for?
It's not free. Yeah, no,
how many?
Nothing for Mahala.
I guess we'll put the link for people who are interested to book.
Yes, exactly.
In the description of this video.
Yes, and also we are going to be launching an app, I'm hoping by the end of this week, if not early next week, which will then facilitate all these engagements. So on the app, we'll have the program, we'll have the speakers, we'll have the profiles of all the delegates. We'll have sort of like a calendar kind of option where you can say, oh, I'd like to meet with Ntando for 15 minutes and have access to Ntando. So Ntando will also make his calendar available on the thing to say I'm available at these times. Yeah, so we're going to use technology to facilitate.
So anyone who's registered in the event can then connect with someone else.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yes.
Looking forward to it.
Same.
Thank you for setting it up.
Thank you so much. Hey?
Yeah, so you're looking for how many people?
Well, at the moment, we're looking at 250. I suspect it could be more, but 250 would be happy with, because this is an inaugural launch.
It probably will be more.
Yeah, no, I think it will be more.
I hope you have capacity for more.
Yes, exactly. And then, but it's going to be an annual event. So from next year, we're probably going to make it over 2 days, because we want to take the creative industries aspect of it. You know, we want to make it big. So we'll probably have a day where it's just art, fashion, music, poetry, and whatever. And then the more sort of serious business stuff then happens on the following day.
All of this to celebrate entrepreneurship.
Yes, sir. It's worth celebrating.
I agree with you 100%.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching till this time. We'll put a link to the website for the event so you can book there. I guess once the app is there, it will be on the website as well.
Yes, it will be, yeah. Even on our IDF socials, we're going to go crazy on this.
And you can follow the IDF YouTube. So thank you. See you in the next episode.
Thank you so much.